And this 2-0 run might actually be the reason that Kingzone can jump up the standings. We zoom in to game number 2. Patch 9.5 persists. And now you don't need to think about the Draven as hard if you're Kingzone DragonX.
And also, you can think about what kind of counter pick you want. And I think that if it's going to be Pawn picking up something a little bit strange, a little bit exciting, a Zed pickup could come in as that final lock-in if they decide to go that route. LeBlanc is going to be banned away from him, though. He's just too sneaky when it comes to that champion.
I feel like the last time Pawn played Zed was that first Telecom War in 2017. Really long time ago. He did pick up Zed in that series, but Talon many more times than Zed in recent memory. And obviously Yasuo has been his go-to. And you never know when KZ will say, screw it. Gragas Yasuo in one round of the draft. It can happen at any time. It's always something you're thinking about. KT probably would have loved to have a Gragas in game number 1. Smeb will not be subbed in. They're going to persist with Kingen. Game 1, I think, definitely went away from him early. I'm going to want to see a better performance. And this is a notable red side ban. Zenit has always been the AD carry in this lineup to go a little bit left of center in terms of pro games, and not allowing them to have the Nico, but it will be at the cost of the now customary first pick Lissandra.
Yeah, well, Lissandra is going to be locked in here, most likely for BDD. It's now Kingzone. They do have access to the Rise. They can go towards it right now if they would like to. Pawn has been playing this champion for an incredibly long time, but it can be flexed into Rascal's lane as well.
Rise
the no-brainer.
Rise Jarvan could be the no-brainer decision on the red
Rise
side.
Gragas could even come in here.
I think that will be a surprise to me. I think they're going to hold that for now. The Braum priority, way up. No supports banned. It may just be the first overall pick. What you can do with this Braum pick here is to kind of draw KT into picking their duo lane, then get counter pick AD carry at pawn spot without showing too much, setting yourself up for a continued flex on the Rise. No need to draft all of your solo laners in the first round. Wait and see how KT want to approach now that Zenit is in the lineup.
Yep, Zenit probably priced into picking the Lucian here if they do want to deny that one from Deft, just because the Braum Lucian is so strong.
But then you see a kind of a pseudo-tank, Rise, whatever the build, going to be pretty tanky in the front line. You see a Braum, and you're like, yes, it's a nice takeaway in terms of what it gives Kingzone, but does it give KT enough? And the answer is no. They're first rounding Vayne with Rise Braum locked. That is super bold, given that Rise is really good against Vayne, and Braum is no slouch either.
Exactly, and also Deft can now pick any of his choices.
Oh, do it.
This being one of them.
We want it.
This is such an awful matchup for the Vayne if he decides to go for it. Pawn cycling through a whole lot of different choices that Deft has access to.
Kog'Maw is one of his true spirit animals. I love all the best.
Yes! Oh, we're doing it!
We got it!
The Kog'Maw to be locked in here from Deft. So much DPS potential, and yeah, you want to outrange a Vayne, that's a pretty good way to do it.
First of the season as well, I'm hyped to see Deft on Kog'Maw. His most famous side story to me is the fact that when we had 5 attack speed Kog'Maw before the rework back to its original state, Deft was the only player we saw competitively stutter stepping at 5 attack speed. It's much easier on this balance level, but give me that oven Kog'Maw, that mechanical Kog'Maw, and give me Deft's Cog. We get first time of the season for the Kog'Maw.
Oh, the oven was one of my favorites.
And it's a really good matchup into Vayne as well, because you outrange Vayne for a lot of the laning phase. So unless Vayne's tumbling forward, there ain't no defensive tumbles available against a Kog'Maw.
And Snowflower's going to have to be really fast on these black shields, because otherwise, the Braum, if the Winter's Bite connects, you're getting stunned real damn fast with those concussive blows.
You know who does a lot of magic damage and pops support Morgana bubbles as well? Kog'Maw. So yeah. No guarantee that one's going to work out. Doesn't look like it's going to be a mid lane Morgana either. Actually, mid lane Morgana's power level on 9.4 is actually pretty high. So I thought we would see Pawn visited at some point, one of his famous picks. You would imagine that we're going to see quite a lot of setup around this Kog'Maw, because we had a Draven one-threat comp in game number 1. There's Dravens and there's Kog'Maws, and Kog'Maw is that insurance policy that's honestly blue chip. At the end of the day, whatever the meta, if Kog'Maw's there, it works out in the late game.
Yep. Well, what a KT ban for their last one. 3 seconds to go now. Gragas still available here for Cuz, and they are going to ban that one away. Sorry, Pubs Video. I feel like
Gragas Yasuo could have been flexed into, right?
Yeah.
Now on the red side.
That's cute.
Hovering Draven for no discernible reason. I guess mid lane Kog'Maw could be played if this was to be locked in. Trying to give you information on the hover, but as we expect, it was mostly about the mind games. Kingzone looking for a jungler. You don't necessarily want to opt all into late game when you have Kog'Maw in your lineup. I think Kog'Maw's actually really strong in the early game. I'm interested to see where the build goes.
Yeah. I feel like Blade of the Ruined King into Ginter's Rageblade is the understandable choice that you go towards, but certainly a lot of different options here for Deft if you'd like to go there.
Trinity Force has been a build. Wit's End, like you say, could actually be pretty good if another magic damage threat is locked in on the side of KT. Of course, LS had a lot of words about going for the Blade of the Ruined King against a very squishy lineup, and this looks pretty damn squishy. KT say, okay, are we peeling for the Vayne or are we diving after the Kog'Maw? You have to choose one or the other. If you do neither, you get neither. So they're going to go for the dive, it looks like. Seems like Akali's going to be getting into the back line. We'll wait and see what that lane assignment is. Do they just go for something like an Olaf here to be able to run at the Kog'Maw? We're wondering about it. Olaf's going to be hovered.
Choice if it is going to be locked in.
Well, Jarvan's banned, right? So they can't just Jarvan into the back line.
Oh, wow. Okay, Xin. You can certainly get into the back line, but you're staying there if you're the Xin Zhao.
Operation Kill Kog'Maw. And what will be the final prognosis here? You could go for something like Karma and as a mid laner and just poke the Lissandra, then give some nice big shields. How centered around Deft is this comp going to be? This would be a top lane pick into either Lissandra or Akali.
Yeah, that means
be the
the
choice.
Rise. Yeah, heading towards the mid lane most likely. I guess Pon is a notable Gangplank player of old. However, you're not flexing that one to the mid lane so much these days. So you can see...
But this is a tricky one. Because it's not like either of the matchups are god matchups for Kingzone in terms of the
You can also
1v1.
eat oranges out of the Frozen Tomb, which ain't bad.
I think mid lane would actually be the safer choice. So I'm actually interested to see what the decision is on the GP lane assignment. None of the lanes here are hard winning for a last pick. The GP just gives them another ult to send bot lane. So with 20 seconds left, we will know if it will be the standard GP top or not. There is the confirmation, so seems like they're happy to give up lane control top side, and without the sustain, the hope that Kingen will never have a health bar advantage. Look for the turret dive post 6.
Yeah, you can also get your barrels into the Shroud as well. So theoretically, Akali isn't safe just by pressing W. I can understand that one. Plus, Rascal did play some pretty good GP in the last matchup that we saw. So it's a creative draft, but here on the side of KT Rolster, it is going all in or it is going home.
And to me, this game should play out in a linear fashion. I think if you're Kingen and score, you attack top side and kill the GP. Trying to actually make them pay for a very squishy top laner. And the moment that you go GP into a matchup that's not like a winning matchup for GP, it's not Poppy or Shen or these matchups where GP can do very well. I think you're saying Rek'Sai jungles bot side and GP ults bot side, and you try to get leads around the Kog'Maw. So will it be battle lines are drawn in draft like my first instinct, or will we try to subvert them for KT or Kingzone?
Yeah, and also you've got a very stable mid lane as well in this Rise pickup and the Rise into Lissandra matchup we saw in our first series of the night, which was one of the fastest that we've had so far this season. Goes pretty damn well for the Rise. See what happens here as we get into game number 2, KT versus Kingzone. As you can see, it's the adorable Pugmore to be picked up by Deft as well. You're not a fan, are you?
No.
I am the oven. You wanted the oven.
I am a hypocrite because I am a huge fan, as you know, of Corgi Corgi.
Yes.
But
that's because it's a Corgi. You're not allowed to not like a Corgi skin.
Thank you. Really. Am I allowed to not like this skin?
Yeah, of course.
I hate it. Why couldn't he go for his adorable oven Kog'Maw?
What about the butterfly Kog'Maw?
No, I'm all about Battlecast when it comes to Deft. That was his skin when I loved casting him back in the LPL 2015 spring. A lot of oven Kog'Maw. And here are your Kog'Maw runes. Of course, first Kog'Maw of the season. And do notice it is the Callista start here. You notice
the Hail of
Taste
Blades.
the Blood, Ravenous Hunter, Hail of Blades to allow you to very nicely go into the Domination tree. This is very much saying, yep, not the best laner. Well, not the worst time to pick it into Vayne and Morgana, and also the insurance of first cleanse and then about as much sustain as possible. Because if you want to have a reliable champion to taste the blood in the 2v2 lane, look no further than Kog'Maw pressing W.
Yeah, precisely. And pressing W with Hail of Blades just feels like synergy like you would not believe. All right, well, Kingzone going to start off this laning phase, and both of these champions not exactly great laners, which is why the Kog'Maw was picked into this vein. Feel like you can relatively safely get through the laning phase.
Sad news, the 7-game streak has been abated. Not the win streak, but the now unique champions for Rascal. He's returned to the GP. This man does have limits after all. You're going to be very reliably proccing Hail of Blades.
That step was really nice. Yeah, exactly.
You press your first W, and the next two autos come out so quickly, and you're guaranteed to have the range, right, with how long that buff duration is on the Bioarcane Barrage.
Kingen has to use his potion very early in this lane, as you can see. He does have the fleet footwork to keep the Akali alive.
Every time I say Bioarcane Barrage, I check myself on whether that's the ult or the W, but I remember Living Artillery.
Yeah, Living Artillery, that's the ultimate.
Turns out, didn't prep too much Cogmore for today, but as I exclaimed, very happy
Where
to
was
see
your
it back.
caustic spittle? Come on, Papa Smithy.
I'm sorry, I was thinking Jinx would be the way forward.
Yeah.
Rascal last picked the GP for himself. We wondered if Pawn, who is kind of our most notable mid-lane GP player, with GBM no longer in Korea, would be visiting that mid-lane pick, and you could kind of understand it, trying to farm out and not die against Lissandra. We'll see how the Resolve Tree GP does, is if he can battle for the early part, and there's no sustain coming in on this Akali, you still feel like kill threat's going to be unbelievable with ganks post 6, but maybe in the laning phase you can go CS for CS.
Well, right now, you can see Rascal's having a great time up there towards the top side. No Klepto, so not going to have that extra gold income as Pawn clears out the minion wave very, very effectively, but he is going to be a little bit behind as he rushed. A little bit.
Scores here nice and early. We'll know no counter gank is happening, given how long he's waiting for this eventual just kill the GP. And thank you to the Observer, notes that Orange is apparently off-season.
Yeah, not actually having it up, and has to flash very, very quickly to get out of audacious charge range. Now finally has some oranges to eat, but probably would have liked them a little earlier.
I'm going to be honest, Atlas. I've actually had something that I'm sure you've observed, because you came straight from Australia when you came over to Korea. I was in Dubai for a bit, but the point still stands true. We actually have seasons when it comes to fruit in Korea. We can't just get the fruit we want at all times of the year like it's so easy to in Australia. So strawberry season about to end over here. I think all the ripe strawberries about to go out. Apparently orange season when it comes to these GPs.
Yeah.
It's off season for now, but it'll come in later.
Thankfully, it did come in at level 4. So Score's going to sneak around, look for another gank. Got the flash before, so looking to try and make this one happen again. And you can see GP very susceptible to these ganks. He does need to walk up a bit further.
Shout out to Reddit user LW9D1 who had a career retrospective on the 1,000 kills as we go top lane.
Yeah, there's the flash audacious charge. Rascal doesn't even eat oranges in time, but does eventually pick them up. The last poke going to come in, and Score will get first blood, top side of the map.
We knew GP would be an endangered species, but pre-6 the first kill comes out after the camp is extended by Score. That's why we were a bit incredulous about the GP draft. What I wanted to get to is that 15-4 is that history we saw it on screen. When it comes to Death's Cogmore, it is right up there with the Jinx as his true spirit animal.
Yeah. Get him on any sort of hyper carry, and it feels like Death is having a great time. Feels like his Ezreal, as far as, you know, what makes Death the player that he is one of the exceptions to that particular rule, because otherwise it's champions like Sivir, Cogmore, and Jinx that really feel synonymous with this player.
And if Akali, Xinjiao get enough kills, maybe one of them finds their way onto Death. If you think about how KT lost the previous game, Kingzone used their gold lead to add members who had threat on Draven, but often it was one person dived in, maybe got a flash, maybe got some positioning, then darted out. Then another member came in, quite multiple dominoes to take down the Draven. If you get fed enough on these diving assassins and Death gets no space, maybe the comp of Kingzone falls apart. So kills going on to Xinjiao, Lissandra, or Akali could have big inroads if they can actually make this pug stay on a leash and go down in the late game.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether they can. At the moment, you can see Rascal's actually made his way back into this lane very effectively, but no teleport used from Kingen, so holds on to that for an extra back timing that he can come in with.
Like that our long-standing AD carries in a blind pick Vayne meta that seems to be on top of us, dusting over some of these old picks that, you know, in different metas are unusable.
Yeah.
Cogmore comes back, and as a sometimes champion, I'm happy to see it.
I'm happy to see it as well, and actually, I don't mind this particular chroma of the Cogmore skin either, so I'm not exactly in your camp. I'm okay with it. It's no Sona in Cogmore, but it's pretty.
We could have balance on the caster desk. If we were in agreement about everything, it'd be boring, Atlas.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is where we create the flavor with our skin choices. Because BDD's got a terrible one. Decided to go for no skin at all.
His best faker impression.
Yep.
Who needs skins, he says. Snowflower's in it. Thoroughly disagreeing.
Yep. They got some fancy ones. Hextech Vayne, one that's quite difficult to get your hands onto.
It's a Rascal. Otherwise, Akali has not been able to extend her lead to a CS lead, and Roth continues to farm it out. Didn't miss a lot of farm, obviously. After his death, Deft, like we noted, went for rune choices for laning phase. Hail of Blades, Taste the Blood, Ravenous Hunter, all useful in the laning phase. And in a good matchup already for the Kog'Maw, it's extended to about a 1.5 minion wave advantage in the bot side.
Yeah, and also having lane control enough to get Deft. Pretty nice back timing as that whole wave needs to be dealt with there by Zenit Snowflower. So he goes back, almost completes his recurve bow as well as the Bilgewater Cutlass. So another tool that the Kog'Maw will have available to him in order to hold back his attackers.
I don't think any build gets Deft through unscathed, though. His peel is largely going to be Braum. It feels like everyone else is going to have other agendas.
Yeah, and I think it's Cannon Barrage as well is going to be very important. As Kingzone have already started up this Mountain Drake, as that was the first spawn this game.
Seems like no answer on the bot side. Priority around the Kog'Maw lane is a specific thing, but this is the game, like you identified, Atlas, where they could translate the Hail of Blades into that sort of control. KT spinning the map, going to be happy to go top side. The timer here is important. You make this play 2 minutes in the future, and a Rift Herald is on the offering on the top side, but now it's just going to be a red buff steal and probably just a red buff trade and just a straight up Drake win the side of Kingzone. So knowing their timings, playing towards the clock. If you're a top team, you make those plays, and Kingzone threatening to continue to be a team that deserves to be respected at the top of the table.
Yep, Cannon Barrage going to be used here by Rascal just because he knows that there is the possibility that Score is towards the top side of the map. It's not going to finish off that Cannon Minion. However, he does get most of the rest of them and is now looking to go back home. King wants to stop him, but isn't going to be able to.
With map hacks, it looks silly, right? But knowing what Rascal did, which is, well, I'm winning on the bot side. We have pressure on the bot side, and I have no idea what's in my jungle. It is very smart to be safety first there.
Yep, I like it. And then Cuz moved back up towards the top side of the map. And now Rascal's going to move his way back into the lane and be relatively comfortable. Deft down here does have a dagger advantage over Zenit and lands the Caustic Spittle. As he's looking to grab the first turret plate if Kingzone picks it up by himself.
Kog'Maw getting turret plates in 2019, things that we were unable to say until now.
Man, Zenit's having an awful time on this Vayne bottom side of the map, just getting poked out from underneath his turret. Living artillery pretty strong.
Kog'Maw being the fun police in the laning phase, not often something we see. There's a lot of almost action going on the top side, as if GP actually greeds for a barrel connection.
It looks like he's not doing so at this point in time, but there's 2 turret plates going down bot lane. You can see exactly why Rascal's doing this. Just doesn't want to open any doors here for KT Rolster.
And it's one of those games where actually we might get what evolved into the Kog'Maw issue. Is if you remember, for the longest time it was, think about the late game with Kog'Maw, and then we just saw 1-item, 2-item Kog'Maws with Rage Blade, just like Vayne, pop off at 2 items. You can do that job safer than Vayne can in a lot of cases at 2 items, and maybe KT having so much backline dive will matter when there's gold in King and Score and BDD. But if you get enough gold on Deft early enough, maybe the mid-game Kog'Maw just takes over the game.
And now Cuz is looking at a Zenit that's almost in ult range, to be perfectly honest. Deft gets a few auto attacks in here. Will mean that Zenit will be in a lot of trouble. There's the Unbreakable, Living Artillery working. Very early barrier here from Zenit as Score and Cuz are going to spot each other. That means the bottom lane is going to abate, but Ultimate has been drawn out from Zenit.
Both junglers playing bot side now, but in service of Deft. Still trading up wherever possible. Now about a 2-wave advantage over his enemy. About the same as what we're seeing in the top side from Kingan's perspective.
Yeah, Kingan actually able to pressure out the GP a lot more in recent waves. So finally getting work done. Does have teleport still available. And actually didn't use it earlier on and it would have come back off cooldown again. A little bit unfortunate. Slight misuse of the summoner spell. We wanted to make sure he could keep bottom lane safe.
We already noted the river control that got Kingzone the first Mountain Drake. The play we saw from Cuz is Snowflower's health bar just disappears.
Yeah.
Just trying to take them out of lane and get the bad back timing. Getting a kill here, very unlikely. But the reason they can play this aggressively is that they've had control of this lane and they've had jungler backup, so it allows Deft to never have to respect a double TP bot lane.
Yep, and that's going to be all the turret plates going down. You can see immediately Score has decided that he wants to get rid of Shelly. They are going to have control of that one. Cannon Barrage back off cooldown, remember guys, so there is just no way that KT, even if they had members down here, could do anything to stop this turret from going down. Deft grabs it. You can see all of that bounty heading over to all the members of Kingzone. And that is such a huge lead. We're close to 40 CS at 12 minutes into the game as an advantage for a Kog'Maw.
And you wonder where Score will try to get the answering advantage. You can get 320 gold onto Akali or Lissandra, and there's arguments on both. I'm in the Akali train because I want to see the Gunblade as early as possible and try to actually take down Rascal, because if you just wait for Asterix Gauge, you might be surprised to see GP a bit more immovable than your first assumption. But he's going to hold on to it for now. He gets one more back before 14-minute hits, and you aren't able to get that same gold. So we'll see what Score wants to engineer, because for now at least, everything's coming up Kingzone in the early game.
Yep, now you've got a bit of a 1-3-1 scenario happening here as Unbreakable, pretty good against the old Claw. So BDD is not going to be able to go aggressive onto Deft and Tucson. Control ward goes down. And now we have that mid-game transition. Deft moves into the mid lane. He completes himself with Berserker's Greaves and a Blade of the Ruin King. And this turret, it's now its turn to go down. Once BDD can hold on to this wave.
Waiting to see the lane assignments here. Vayne and Morgana topside already, and we can see Kingzone trying to back it up. Snowflower wants to spot them, doesn't have any vision down, but gets the information.
Yep, Dark Binding is going to go wide. Snowflower not finding too much joy there as Tucson catches him, doesn't hit him though. Oh my god, this damage, as there's the flash immediately from Deft. Wants to keep himself out of the way as Cuz is in trouble. King in with the ultimate, has to flash to get out of there, does Cuz, but the ult is going to come through yet again. Kingzone underneath their turrets. We do have the cannon barrage that has gone down, but Cuz is already dead. And
more.
King had dealt with him. There we go, Circle of Frost is huge as Score picks up the Kog'Maw. Is he going to have the passive for the kill? Looks like the answer's no. A Snowflower right underneath the turret is getting the work done. The Frozen Thralls, and Shelly's going to go in there before the minions are even gone down.
It's a 4-for-2 eventually, Atlas. The big thing there was Pawn was bot lane with no teleport. That's why KT fully committed to this. 4-for-2 though is the trade they end up with. It's not as clean as they would like, but they need to get gold going right now.
Yep, exactly right. This is going to even things out. 14 minutes in, so no turret plates were picked up there by Shelly, I'm pretty sure. But they are going to be able to get themselves back into the gold lead. 300 though, it's not a big enough margin. The huge thing is that now in this mid game, Deft doesn't have any summoner spells to keep himself alive, and BDD has a lot of agency.
And you get the confirmation that only a single turret plate was claimed in the mid lane. For KT, they weren't able to get the charge off because it took a long time to take down all the members of Kingzone that were looking for this outer top lane turret to be their solace. It's a smart move from KT. It's good to see a proactive shot call even after losing game number 1, because it cannot be matched. It has to be an entire walkabout moment for Pawn to get there. So Kingzone, thinking they could just walk top lane and not be punished, are probably surprised with how decisive the TP is. But given the health bars, you knew eventually it'd be an all-in, and BDD catches 3 with the Ring of Frost.
Yep, and then goes straight into his stopwatch there as well. Fantastic play from this Lissandra that's been so successful here in the LCK. Tucson will eventually go down, as Zenit does die also. But a great story here for KT Rolster. Tucson in potential trouble. Throws up the Unbreakable, he'll be fine. See whether Deft can hold on to this outer turret here in this mid lane, or whether he can actually challenge for the mid lane outer of KT.
And given that we're currently gold for gold, as this is of course an extension of the laning trades we gave to the side of the Braum and Kog'Maw, remember that this game will reach a point where there's Morgana to help Zenit in a team fight, and I don't know if Braum is enough with how much dive KT has. So even though we think about these carries, and Kog'Maw especially as a late game champion, I think both of these carries are going to hit 2 items running. It feels like the game will be decided around there, as right now, the race to 2 items is being comfortably won by Deft.
Yeah, precisely. He has that pickaxe moving towards Ginsu's Rage Blade, as you would expect. As BDD looking to try and get out of there, but Cuz is going to turn up here as well. Good dodge on that overload, meaning that Pawn can't get the extra damage through. Very, very close as far as the farm numbers are concerned, both of them with the 500 gold bounty. Just shows how this mid lane has been panning out between BDD and Pawn.
King and able to proxy Rascal away from the lane. That buff so big on the W. Yes, the heal is still not there, but I am a big believer that the zoning power of the change to the Shroud is a big increase in power level. 19 CS, again, not the end of the world. Cull will go a long way to answering that CS lead. They're going to trade objectives. This time, no death to profit in the top side.
Yeah, but you can see it is actually top side of the map that's going to go down on the next wave, and also they've got a Demolish proc here for this mid lane. As we do get the rotation of Rascal to come on over. Cannon Barrage still available. KT do hold on to this outer turret just barely, and are now looking to try and flip the script. Try and take this one down as the tempo advantage is on the side of KT. 2 turrets apiece, and this gold is so incredibly close. This is not the same as game number 1.
Feels like our first competitive game of the night. We had 3 games that were very one-sided. 2 for Griffin over Hanwha Life. In game 1, where Kingzone was always comfortably ahead of KT Rolster. So good to see KT use their veteran names to try to get some settled heads coming into game number 2.
Score being the one that's really been able to push KT Rolster forward 3-0-1. 600 gold bounty for himself as well from the jungle.
And I want to mention that we haven't seen much of Xin Zhao versus Kog'Maw since Xin Zhao's ult was changed, but Xin Zhao should be able to, with soon-to-be Sterix Gage, dive in, threaten, but not die leaving the fight, because he will have that Crescent Sweep AoE damage mitigation from the long-range Kog'Maw. So he's actually able to get in Kog'Maw's face, get a summoner, and probably not die on the way out. And you can count the champions who can do that on one hand when it comes to melee champions with some engage.
Well, you can see Deft is very close to 2,000 gold ahead of Zenith. So this Kog'Maw is going to need to be dealt with. So I'm very glad that Score does have some options as far as keeping him alive in these engagements, because now 2-item Kog'Maw is on the Rift. And it's getting real scary if you're a KT fan.
He uses the stats even better than Vayne, because the AP scalings are very decent on Kog'Maw's kit and entirely absent for Zenith. Zenith already couldn't walk up to Kog'Maw, and that is certainly true here. Ow, that's one auto.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts to watch. As he's going to stack up the Ginsus, and then basically you just can't walk towards it, because he presses W and you die. Score looking to go aggressive, but you can see this is one scary pug roaming around this mid lane.
It's a rabid pug.
Yeah.
Different thing in competitive play, but something that is very hard to deal with. King incoming from the flank will be spotted on plenty of wards put down. Kingzone, no. Whether you got a Kog'Maw or a Vayne, it's all about warding your flanks. They are there.
Yeah, that control ward's actually doing a lot of work here for KT. As you can see, it comes back up as Deft is trying to clear out the minion waves. Does have a heck of a lot of mana, so those living artilleries aren't too expensive. Trinity Force is done here for Rascal. He'll start to be relevant as this game goes on. Looking for his Hex Drinker so that he can stand in a side lane. Dark Binding is going to move past Tucson.
But you'll accept CS for CS if no Rageblade. Vayne is trading CS with a Kog'Maw, who's very safe in this mid lane, but no more. BD gliding in defensively.
Ooh, nice barrel. Does actually land there as the living artilleries are sure to follow. Deft going to avoid the Dark Binding, cuz keeping Score away from this sideline. We're looking for our second Mountain Drake if you're a Kingzone fan.
Kingzone have vision control and tremor sense, so that's why they were so safe in their mid lane play. Kingen starts to walk up. Cuz actually on a flank.
Yeah, knock-up is going to come down here as Kingen going to try and get himself away. There's BDD making his way forward. Deft needs to find the right target. Good ult comes out of Tucson. His Score has to go into his stopwatch very early. Pawn flashing on forward, gets the Rune Prison Zenith. He's going to go down. Kog'Maw grabs his 3rd kill. Realm Warp to get Kingzone into the stragglers, and BDD is going to die to Rascal. Snowflower now in trouble. Kingen, it's 1 against 5 when it comes to the damage, as instantly Deft cleanses out of the way. Kingen trying to get there, but Deft gives him a cheeky auto to the face, and that is a 5-0.
And Atlas, with so much parity in the compositions, the fight was so likely to be execution focused, and the execution on Kingzone was levels above what KT were able to serve up. Score actually heavily misplayed in this fight. If you watch the replay, remember that Score cannot be damaged by Kog'Maw's effective range when he uses the Crescent Sweep. So we're watching for Score to leverage his early start. He walks up, and then he ults late and he uses his stasis, so he's getting no value out of the Crescent Sweep, then just dies to a re-engage here. There's never any further threat onto Deft, and that just means that this Rabid Pug got to kill whoever he wanted, and Kingzone chase in for the eventual 5 kills.
And they pick up the Mountain Drake, and they now have even more control over this game. If you're looking for a tipping point, this is exactly it. No option really for KT to try and turn this around now. It's going to be really, really hard.
Oh, for sure, Atlas. The grammar police at moments like this are all over us because we're saying they get this and this and this and this. Well, we're doing it for emphasis. The grammar be damned.
Yeah, I know.
King Zone
we need to learn to
grabbed.
say comma or something like that.
Oxford comma?
Yeah, just say comma instead of saying and.
Well, and the and for emphasis works out. So grammar police, keep all your opposition to one side. King Zone may have just blown open the game and never be finding any respite unless this game extends further and we can get enough items onto King and Score and BDD to actually threaten the pug.
Well, now we have to talk about King Zone's ability to do Baron. And guys, I know it's not going to be a big surprise, but it's gigantic. Their Baron damage is going to be extremely fast, and that's based on basically just having a Cogmore. As they're going to go for it right now. Look at that, close to 4,000 damage in comparison to the 317 that the Vayne was able to do. And look at this Baron melt. The cannon barrage is there. Score's just not able to get into this pit. Cuz locks that one down. Snowflower's already basically dead just because they had to walk through the ultimate. The Crescent Sweep is going to wear off. That's a Prey Seeker that locks down the kill, and this could just be another ace. As you can see, Kingen just trying to desperately escape from this game.
Atlas Cogmore did 10 times the damage of Vayne in the previous fight, and it was another one just like that. The Vayne might actually lose the game before he has 2 items.
Yeah. Might lose the game before he manages to do more than 3,000 damage himself, to be perfectly honest, because those damage numbers have not been very high. King Zone, with Deft at the helm, looking to take down their first inhibitor turret at 23.5 minutes into this game. Inhibitor going to stay standing, and that could actually be a strategic choice, just so that those minions aren't just going to be piling in for the extra money for KT. Spawn looking to take down this inner turret. It's just going from bad to worse.
You just hate to see it, Atlas, because remember this game was actually very even.
Oh, it was poised.
Before the misplay in the team fight. And then we talk about what KT didn't drop. We say, yes, they went dive to try to kill the Cogmore. I can't really see much dive because Death's health bar never gets even close to half.
Yep, and look at that. Cuz getting a kill with a Prey Seeker feels real bad. Yeah.
The Realm Warp to change the territory there. We've seen some party warps. That one was an on-point warp.
Well, Pon actually had a great one in the last team fight as well to get that chase, because KT had already lost both Score and Zenit, and then we're looking to actually escape, and no chance.
And you know how people really never knew when to say Jugglemore, what Jugglemore meant, and that was always Cogmore at the front of the fight doing all the damage. It was always about the positioning of Cogmore in front of the rest of the team. In a team with GP and the rest of this lineup here, right, a Ryze, a Braum, a Rek'Sai, we might still see a Jugglemore-esque play of Cogmore being at the front. He doesn't even need the peel that usually Jugglemore requires.
I can confirm that this certainly isn't a Jugglemore comp, but he might just be in the front line. Zen instead. Deft picks up that kill all too easily, and KT, I think the only safe place you have is your fountain, and I'm not even sure that's safe because of the range of this pug.
King Zone walk up, that's a short cooldown. They can return to it very shortly.
Yep, another Realm Warp comes down as Deft gets into the Frozen Tomb, but he's still alive. He's trying to lifesteal his way back. He finally dies. 1,000 gold goes to Kingen as they have managed to take down the raid boss, but is there enough damage left over is the answer.
No.
As Kingen, he's once again just running for the hills. He wonders whether or not he's the only man on his team.
They're trying so hard to extend the game. They're diving in first. Face first on a Cogmore, it doesn't matter. King Zone, too far ahead.
Yep, that's 10,000 gold the lead. That is 2 inhibitors that have bitten the dust, and thankfully it's 25 minutes in, so the death timers aren't too long, and they don't just straight up lose the game right there.
But the song actually holds a lot of value for King Zone. Another one bites the dust, 8-0 in a run for King Zone if they can take down a 4th 2-0 victory in a row. Deft front lines, Zenit dies instantly. I've got your items and I do it better, says the Deft on the Cogmore. And from there, a party warp can extend this game for longer than it is. The Realm Warp here was not the right decision.
I'm sorry, that just has to be the commentary of the replay. I didn't realize quite how insane that particular Realm Warp was.
Well, I was like, why is Deft there? Then I realized it could only have been Realm Warp.
Yep. Pon. Forever trolling his own team. as the Ocean Drake is going to go down more as a formality here for Kingzone DragonX. Rather than anything else, next Drake is going to be a Cloud. It's a sad day when it comes to the Dragons in this particular game. I
think we can agree, Atlas, that Pawn has a pawn shop. And the reason why I say that is he never seems to buy the other items that people prefer on champions. Akali with Black Cleaver is a great example. He's got Medjai's this game. Why not?
Yep, exactly right. Okay, Score looking to find his way in. Audacious Charge is going to land onto Deft. Gets a nice knock-up. Crescent Sweep is going to be in there, but look at the damage. Score is just straight up dead. He couldn't get enough work done. Tucson picks up the kill, and now Deft takes the Blast Cone to get himself over. Zenit is free hitting. Tucson is going to go down. Deft trying to get back in here, but they're not going to find it, and KT find themselves a great team fight.
Deft wasn't able to re-engage with his W cooldown. He needed a front line to stay alive so he could re-engage after that came up. But the fight is over to die. That means that Deft only now gets to walk up again, despite the fact that he stayed alive with Score diving in.
Yeah, the ridiculous thing is that now with Score not actually here, they're not going to have a lot of options as far as taking Deft down.
They also have 2 inhibitors down, so they have a lot of things to consider to KT, but they get a little bit more life. Yes, Score died, but he wasted all of Kog'Maw's time, and the other threats on Kingzone couldn't do enough this time out. We watched the replay. This time, Zenit's actually pretty safe, and if you think of a more even gold game, if this happens where Score gets to waste 10 seconds of Kog'Maw's time doing single target damage to a Xin Zhao, Akali and the rest of the lineup here could potentially do a lot of work to Kingzone DragonX.
Yeah, and also Rascal didn't use his ultimate that entire time, so I'm not entirely sure what that was about. May not have had it available just yet at that point in time. I know that a lot of our replays, you do get a few ultimate cooldowns in the wrong positions. That was very curious. But Deft, he's got his wit's end, he's got his Hex Drinker, he's not scared of BDD. It's all about whether Score and Zenit can pile in onto the little pug.
And Deft understands his predicament. He'll have his effective QSS, in this case, Cleanse, available soon. He's got a Stopwatch. He's got Stopwatch Hex Drinker on top of the wit's end. So a lot of magic resist. So right now, Akali and Lissandra take a really long time to kill him. Remember, you have a shield that scales with MR, and now a lot of MR. It's not just Hex Drinker that is superior to Phantom Dancer against one damage type, magic damage, because you have a shield that scales on magic resistance. BD probably not going to follow up. Oh. There is that Rascal ult you asked about.
Yeah, he's going to throw it out immediately this time around. Says, no, I'm not going to forget it here. But all of KT are going to move themselves away. Yep, Realm Warp is going to be... Oh my god, the damage! Okay, the Baron's dead, guys. It didn't start dead, but it almost looked like it did.
We see fade-away abilities. That was a fade-away Baron on Kingzone. They don't care about your jump shots. They're dunking the Baron in half a second. There's no minion wave, but they roll back up and say, what about now?
Yep, they're just having a great time. By the looks of things.
It feels like they're the anime protagonist pre and post powering up. They had their powering up episode, you know, they went off and powered up for a couple of episodes, and now they're at full power.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure each of Deft's auto attacks is a Spirit Bomb. So I think that the analogy works out very, very well there, Papa Smithy. Snowflower going to get slowed down by the Winter's Bite. Cuz looking for it. BD finds the backline. Score as well. He's going to jump onto Deft. He does go into his stopwatch here as the Crescent Sweep is going to wear off. Deft survives for a long time, but eventually does fall down. But Pawn still alive, still doing the damage as Score is in trouble. Cuz now looking to find his way in, but Zenit is kiting this one out. He's looking for the pentakill. The Quadra does come in, and Cuz is going to deny it. Does have himself the Guardian Angel. He'd take a lot of killing, but Zenit, have we turned it around for KT?
And have Kingzone with their Realm Warp that Deft died the first time actually bought enough gold back in the game for Zenit to go with their original analysis and have some options in team fights to take this one over, because Zenit is never under threat in this fight, and Deft very quickly has to start to deal with his defensive tools.
Yeah, this is a huge problem.
There's no peel for him. That's just what happens when Akali dives in. The rest of the threats dive in. And meanwhile, Zenit, at this point you might say, okay, Zenit's out of the fight, but the Black Shield is still on, and there's no more threat on him. His Rage Blade is fully stacked, and every 2 seconds, people be dying.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. We're going to zoom in on Zenit now, who has himself a kill bounty. 6-4-4 now. He's still behind in gold, but it's getting real close.
He needed a government bailout. He got the government bailout, and he's not going to be Busto. He seems to actually be ready to use that money to make this game competitive until the last.
Yeah, it's looking like Deft is going to actually need to build a Mercurius Scimitar for 3 different magic resist sources, but he needs the QSS, I think.
Kind of wants a Hurricane. he has a build that doesn't scale that well because, of course, it's not going to have Infinity Edge, Critical Strike, and attack damage in the build without some rejiggering, and that's a later thing, right? That might come later. I wonder what the final item will be. GA would be the ultra defensive. Hurricane would give him the most ability to spread on-hit damage, so I think the Hurricane is necessary. If you go GA and you still aren't able to spread damage, maybe there's a trade-off where Kingzone do actually lose this game. The gold leads 8,000. When you see Vayne free hitting, you're not sure it matters.
And also Zenit just built an outright GA himself, so he's found item parity and he has some better items by the looks of things.
This definitely feels like a solo queue game where Vayne got randomly fed.
Yes.
He was 0-3-3.
Yep. It's one of those late games that you get to and it's like, well, I mean, how do we lose this game? And the answer is, you feed Zenit a quadra kill. There's a chance the KT come back in this one. Outer turret in the mid lane is going to be taken there by Kingen. He's trying to get all the standing gold that they can. 4 minutes on that Elder Drake.
And maybe you need Elder to be the god of damage from range on the Kog'Maw and for the other members to have teeth, to have fangs, because the Elder with 5 stacks is crazy true damage. Right now, things are feeling much more balanced for the lineup of Kingzone. They're definitely in comms going to be worried about the predicament they're in.
Yeah, and Cuz needs to stand down here. He's the only one that had the Baron buff. It is just wearing off. So this next wave is going to be more difficult to get these minions towards this turret and keep them alive. Score is just waiting, biding his time to get in and try and challenge. Cannon Barrage is going to come through. That's going to guarantee the turret as BDD has to ult himself. That means that that's not going to be a tool that's available. Still slowed, has to claw to get out. Wind becomes lightning. Score is going to try and get some poke damage, but they're going to lose their last inhibitor turret. And this inhibitor is going to follow as well.
Important thing about the timing, though.
Party warp.
They want to get 2 inhibitors here minimum.
Yep, Claw is going to come in. Tucson blocks it. BDD not going to follow up. Zenit at about half health. Kingen looking for the flank. Rascal gonna have to flash to get out of the way. The E is going to be avoided as Kingen not going to be able to re-engage. Kingzone still looking for it. Zenit has the ult on cooldown. If
Kingzone commit to a fight where Zenit comes in with his Rage Blade stacked, they will lose it, Atlas.
Yep. Zenit now doesn't have final hour. That's going to be very important for this next one. Barrels getting dealt with, but as is this inhibitor. Score in trouble. BDD gets exhausted, has to ult himself. Kingen has found the backline. Audacious charge from Score gets him in there as well as Deft is able to limp away. Kingen trying to get on top of him, but it's Rascal that finishes it off. BDD in the backline. Pawn is just being ignored, and it's a double kill for the Gangplank. Kingzone, they've routed them, and Deft is barely able to survive.
They needed a team fight like that. They needed execution because this game was oh so close. Can they end the game here? They TP back from Rascal.
Yeah, well, Zenit's now trying to do it. He's trying to be that one-man army. He goes into the GA. I just think that it's too little too late. Doesn't have enough buttons left, and Deft is going to put him in the grave. This is going to be the Kingzone 2-0. KT made it interesting, but the Nexus will fall down for the 8th time in a row for Kingzone DragonX.
And while Kingzone continue that clean win streak, they learn a story that your mom told you many moons ago. Don't play with your food. They played with their food, Atlas, and 0-3 Vayne suddenly became Headache Vayne. They popped their paracetamol, they get through the headache, but that was much closer for Kingzone than it needed to be.
Yep, I was getting that PTSD coming back from those solo queue games we were talking about in the Griffin series. That was Viper destroying people on the Vayne. This was almost Zenit with a way to get back in. But in the end, your victors will be Kingzone DragonX 4-0 against KT Rolster in the spring season of 2019 LCK. A beautiful performance from these guys, and they only look to be getting better as these games go on. I feel like we're looking towards the top side of the map, though, for where the things have really started to improve. Yes, this game was about, Rascal getting camped, having a poor time. It was get behind the Kog'Maw to win the game. However, in game number 1, it was beautiful. From Rascal, Cuz, and Pawn. Pawn getting the MVP. His rise this time around, there were some party warps, but otherwise, just felt like they were having fun.
If you're Kingzone, you could, if you want to be glass half full, say, game 1 clean, game 2 one VOD review moment where they're too bold, where they realm warp, and otherwise the game kind of went away from them from their own mistake. This was an unforced error if you're a tennis fan when it came to the realm warp that actually extended the game too long. From there you could say, all right, don't do that again and things will be fine. But
yeah.
all we can say is, did look mortal by the end, did require a bit of a rallying call to get back in. When it comes to the overall standings, though, they're 8-0. Deft gets his personal milestone. We'll wait and see if he actually is granted an MVP to extend his lead over Chovy. Right now, neck and neck at 1,100 points, but 1,000 kills, the 9th player to do so. Kingzone DragonX at 2-0. And that means their game score, they will move right now to 11-5 plus 12. If Sandbox beat SKT, they would be plus 12, same game score. Very likely that someone falls below plus 12. In fact, I believe impossible
for that
not to happen.
So the loser of SKT versus Sandbox will fall below Kingzone. That is the world we live in. It's exactly how it is right now. And all of these 2-0s are what put Kingzone into that position. It's a great end to the season so far, and that's exactly the stat that I was looking at, Papa, because Kingzone may not necessarily stop there. I mean, they've got a pretty easy matchup and then a really difficult matchup, but they could get another couple of victories here to close out their season and really cut out a lot of games in the gauntlet.
And here's something I'll say. It sounds like maybe that's not big, right? You're just skipping one match, the wildcard match, usually a 2-0. The last team in the league you would want to face, outside of, say, a Griffin, is W9D1, because we know W9D1 could be an amazing team. We know how mechanically talented they are. They just don't always get it out on the Rift at the same time. They're a team where preparation for them is at Nogari, is at Flame. The headaches of facing W9D1 in a best of 3, not even a best of 5, where you may be able to outlast them, are something you want to avoid as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how close Deft came to death in that last fight. Rascal getting the slow from the barrel, and then Kingen had no other ways to actually keep himself alive. You can see Score tried to get in with the W there, just not quite enough to do it. And Deft survives and they win the game. That last team fight was much closer than it could have been, because we thought that that was just going to snowball out. There was that first Dragon fight, and that felt like Kingzone were going to be able to take control, but to KT's credit, they did manage to get that quadra kill onto Zenith.
The problem is, KT have had a lot of close losses recently, but their predicament is now confirmed. They are now same games played as Afrika Gen G, and they are now going to be 15 games played, 4-11, same score as Gen G, but -14 to the -11 game score of Gen G. That means game score working against them. They've got the Jin Air series, so that's the one that might actually be important. Gen G probably will have to, but even if they win, right?
Yeah.
They'll still be on the same match win, so we're getting to a tricky point where game score might be the reason that KT have to play relegation.
Yep, it's looking like KT Rolster are going to be down there, and I stutter on my words purely because I don't think anyone was prepared to say something like that. But when team fights like this happen, when Kingzone DragonX looks so dominant, this Realm Warp was absolutely beautiful from Pawn, but you can see Def just did so much damage.
Until he did, until they throw a team fight and suddenly Vayne has the threats around her like we predicted she should based on the drop. Now, it didn't matter. They were just able to close out the game, but this particular Realm Warp was a party warp. You did not want to make this play. The game only extended because they were too bold playing with their food.
Yeah, and also Rascal didn't make it into the Realm Warp as well, which I think might have been a mistake. However, I think the Realm Warp itself was just not a great idea. Kingzone do eventually find their way back into this series, as this was another win for KT. The Deft did survive, because when you're fighting on two fronts, you can see if they're not fighting with their Cogmore, they're not able to get the work done like they were able to elsewhere.
Zenit only played game 2, got a quadra kill, a double kill on screen a moment ago. In the end, not enough. KT Rolster 0-2, still no closer to knowing who their lineup is. I don't think Kingen had any big problems in this game, but wasn't able in the end to super punish lane or in team fight. What does it all mean for KT? You still want to say that they're kind of going to be intact if they do play relegations, but I don't know, Atlas. And that's not knowing about our world's 2018 first seed is a cool world to live in, but some of the names change less than other teams, and the fortunes change even more.
And we have to remember that Sandbox Gaming, W9D1 Gaming, both were in the Challenger Series before this 2019 season. They're all looking to be in playoffs as well. It's a world where the young guns are coming up, and there is new blood breaking their way into the LCK. It's likely that Jin Air don't make another run in the summer season, and KT Rolster may also be in trouble.
You definitely say odds on. One era that has lasted almost the entire history of Korean League of Legends will likely end at relegations. It's very rare that both teams retain their spot. Like you say, both teams were relegated last time. MVP down, BBQ down. Yeah, there's not a lot of rebounding to do. I don't think the power level of any one team in Challengers is super high. I think APK is on a great streak, but I could see them tripping to potentially one of the teams around. But two of the teams, maybe not, as Deft does pick up his 12th MVP of the season. 12 is my favorite number. Deft at times been one of my favorite players. Well deserved here for Deft, and that means he has that one-game buffer over Chovy.
Yeah, exactly. So 1,100 is what Chovy's on, so 1,200 out in front for the MVP points, and he could pick up some more in the next couple of games as well. But Chovy as well has that chance to do so. You can see it right here. Number one, I'm just so glad that Deft is getting his time in the sun for this season. Thought he played extraordinarily well towards the end of the LCK season in 2018, and then had a pretty horrible time at Worlds. So wants to get himself a little bit of that redemption.
Fans of Change will want Deft to win because we have only ever had top and mid laners win the MVP. Season MVP has never been won by an AD carry, support, or jungler.
Yeah, which is absolutely insane. Well, we're going to hear from Pawn and Deft, our two boys that came back from China and joined KT Rolster now on King Zone. So let's throw it over to Ji-sun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun with the interview translation, and congratulations to Pawn and Deft picking up the 2-0 victory. So how do you feel about picking the first MVP of the split, Pawn? After the first set, I knew that I did quite well, but at the same time, Deft got his 1,000 kills, so I didn't expect to be the MVP. But since I got the MVP, I thought that they're really fair and they know what's going on. Yeah, Pon, you did miss a lot of MVPs even though you were performing so well. So were you sad back in the days? Well, I was a little bit unhappy, but what really mattered, and the player who got the MVP, who was the one who performed better than me, so I didn't really pay too much attention. Maybe I was just a little bit sad. And Deft, congratulations on your 1,000 kills in LCK, and also you are back in the first place of the MVP standings in LCK. In both games, well, I personally think that I made a lot of mistakes, so even though we got the win, I don't feel that happy. Well, but Kingzone did get the victory. It was a stomp, so I want to celebrate over here. And also, Pon, well, you always give a lot of feedback of your own performance. Was that mentioned in the analyst desk? Yeah, Victory mentioned it. So I heard you look for a lot of feedback from the community, so why is that? Whenever I do a game, I want to just check out what I did well, what I did bad, so I am always trying to give feedback to myself. And Pawn, well, with players on the top side improving, the key was improved synergy with you and Cuz, the mid-jungle synergy. I've been performing with Cuz for several months. Well, we haven't been playing together in different seasons, so after 2 or 3 months, I think we found our own rhythm. And all the players are doing so well now, so I think that was how we got the synergy improved. And we want to mention about Rascal's champion pool, because that kind of gave more advantage to Kingzone's draft. Yes, Rascal, he can use any kind of champion on top lane. So whenever the opponents pick a counter pick of our first pick, he can always just repeat it in the top lane. So that's a big strength of our pick and ban. In game 1, there was this highlight when you absorbed the gank perfectly. So let's go through this replay together. Did you have him in the vision, the J4? Well, I knew he was on his way. but I had vision over there, so when it comes to Lissandra Galio matchup, well, I knew that Galio will just flash taunt me and J4 will follow up, so I knew that, so I was able to dodge and sidestep all the skills and manage to survive.
뭐 확실하게 자신감 있으셨던
So was it all calculated? Were you confident?
그냥 자르반이 미드에 좀 더 가까이 와서 했으면 죽었을 것
Well,
같은데
if J4 was closer to the mid lane, I would have died, but he wasn't really close enough, so I knew that I will never ever die there.
1세트 이렇게 멋지게 캐리해 주셨습니다. 자, 2세트는 데프트
Game
선수와 얘기 나눠볼게요.
We're gonna talk about Deft over here.
굉장히
Kog'Maw
인상적이었습니다. 거의
showed up.
작년
It
서버에
was really
나오고 그때도
impressive.
데프트
It
선수가 하셨고요.
also has
이번에
been
처음
a
나오는
long
건데요.
time.
베인 상대로 준비를 하셨던 픽인가요?
Was that a Vayne specific pick?
개인 상대로 이제 좋은 픽들이 거의 이제 사거리가 대부분
So
긴 픽들인데
the counter pick of Vayne or the champions that outranges Vayne, and Kog'Maw was one of the champions that I was confident with.
코그모가 사실은 뚜벅이 챔이다 보니까 한계가 명확하고
However, Kog'Maw, you know, it doesn't have any dash, so there is a valid weakness. So how did you prepare and play around it?
대부분 뚜벅이들이 이제 그런
Well,
약점이
the
있는데
players
대신
the
코그모는
champions
이제
without dashes have those kind of weakness, but
적팀이
if you
다
just
주는 그림이
get over
때문에
that kind of weakness, I have,
잘 넘겼어야
well, I can
되는데
actually carry the game by that, just free dealing in the backline, but I did make some mistakes.
그래서 아쉬워하는 모습이 조금 마음이 아픕니다. 하지만 투신 선수 브라운과의 호흡도
However,
굉장히
your
좋았다고
teamwork
생각이
with
들고요.
Tusin
그리고
on
또
Brown
데프트
was
선수의
really
1000킬이
awesome.
나왔습니다.
And also,
그
you
장면
got
저희
your
만나볼
1000th
텐데요.
kill in
1000킬
LCK,
소감
so
한번 들어볼게요.
how do you feel about that?
네, 1000킬 달성했을 때 기대하고 계셨나요?
Were you expecting it?
오기 전에 이제
Well, before I
거의
joined this
KT
team
전에서
fight,
킹킬을 할 수 있겠다.
no, before I came to the arena today, I thought that I would be able to picking up the 1000 kill today, but I'm a bit sad that it wasn't SMAP that I took down for the 1000 kill.
오늘 팀원들이 좀 데프트 선수에게 킬을 주려고 노력하는
Were your
모습도
teammates
조금
trying to
있었던 것
give you
같은데
kills?
맞나요? 어떤가요?
일단 게임에
Well, in game?
들어가서는 다들 일단 이기는 게
Well,
제일
actually, what really
중요해서
matters is winning the
네,
game.
딱히 저를
Well, so we didn't really pay attention of giving kills to me.
원딜이어서 주지 않았을까.
Maybe I was just AD carry and I was able to pick up the kills.
그리고 2세트 정말 킹존이 유리하게 가져가다가
Game 2, Kingdom was in a big lead.
몇 번의 실수가
However, there were a bit of a
있었어요.
mistakes
팬분들 많이 궁금해하실 텐데
sloppy
아까
moments.
선생의 집에서 라이즈 공을 타는
Especially
장면이 있었는데
you guys
그때 5명이 다 같이
were on the
진입을
Rise
하려고
Ultimates.
했던 건가요? 손 선수
At, so near the enemy nexus, this is the moment.
긴박한 상황이다 보니까 이제 상황이 텐션이 좀 너무 올라가
Well, this was a
있었어요.
very close moment, so our tension was a bit high.
미드를 쌍둥이까지 할 수 있을 것 같다 이렇게 나왔는데
So we actually had a communication that we will be able to take down the Nexus turrets, but so we were trying to just bring the minions and take down the turrets and zone them out.
의도가 전달이 안 돼서
But we had a bit of a miscommunication, so all 5 members just took the one warp, so that kind of went wrong. So I think it's my bad. I should have been more clear about giving shot calls. Kingzone was huge in a huge lead, so that didn't really affect the game much. And Pawn, this was your first MVP, and Def, this was your day of 1000 kill in LCK, so it's a very celebrative moment, so please give a warm round of applause. And your next opponent will be Africa. Africa, they are back in their form, so how are you going to prepare for that match? Well, in Africa, there are a lot of my former teammates, like Yuka and Sun. If I were not sick back in the seasons, they wouldn't have been able to even perform on stage, so I'm going to show what I've got to them.
멋진 상남자다운 각오 잘 들어봤습니다. 데프트 선수 옆에서
And what about you, Dev?
찍고 계신데요.
You're wearing a small green on your face. How are you going to prepare for the Africa series?
저는 뭐 저랑 같은 포지션이 아니었어서
Well, those players who are not sharing
그냥
position
저희가
with me, so
이길 수 있도록 열심히
I'm just
하겠습니다.
gonna do my best to win that game.
같이 좀 특별한 픽 기대해봐도 될까요?
Can you expect something more like
네,
Kog'Maw, some
기회만
pocket
된다면
picks?
어떤
Yeah,
거라도
if I have any situation to play.
네, 알겠습니다.
Any
계속해서
picks are available.
응원하겠고요. 킹존의 이제 상체 폰 선수까지 MVP 받으셨으니까 이제 정말
So
전
all
라인
5
다
players have picked up
흠잡을 데
MVP in
없다라고
Kingzone, so
생각을 해도 좋을
it
것
kind of
같습니다. 오늘
implies
킹존
that all
MVP 폰
Kingzone
선수,
players
데프트
are
선수와
flawless,
함께했습니다.
so
감사합니다.
this will be the end of the interview with Pawn and Def from
네,
Kingzone,
킹존의
and
멋진
I'm
승리와
gonna pass
함께
it back to our
인사
casters.
연결할게요.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, G-Sun. Fantastic to hear from Pawn and Deft. And there's a notable difference in how Pawn is talking. He's not quite the arrogant force that he often is. He was speaking real humbly there.
I mean, I didn't take that from it because he basically said those were my old teammates and they would never have played.
Oh, in that smack talk, yes.
That was some good
before
smack
that,
talk.
like his talk about feedback and things like that, it's not what I was expecting out of Pawn.
I made a 50-50 from him. I must admit, I once again watched a Deft interview where if you think about it as him being a sentient alpaca, it makes more sense. That's just how Deft is. He is the alpaca at all moments. And, well, his bloodthirst has yielded 1,000 domestic kills in Korea. Plenty of titles over in China as well. So
that's one carnivorous alpaca, absolutely.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, there certainly hasn't been that kind of alpaca in the alpacas that I've seen. As we take a look at the standings once again, you can see playoffs still confirmed. After that one, not actually going to change too much about the standings, though, to be perfectly honest. We need to see more from Damwon Gaming and Hanwha Life to see whether or not Damwon are going to guarantee 5th place for themselves.
If Gen G beat Afrika, I think KT is screwed. It's going to be very hard for them to reach 5 match wins. And right now, their best hope is that Afrika beats Gen G. And then KT, after their Jin Air victory, are able to get their game score in order. So things here are really tricky. Feels like that's the last story to put together, apart from understanding if it'll be Damwon Gaming or Hanwha Life top 5, with Hanwha Life dropping games recently. Damwon, big favorites to make it.
Yep. We're having a look at the relegation zone, and these are the roads forward for all 3 teams that are still in with a shot of not making it through into the summer season.
Jin Air is the winnable match. After that, you're playing spoiler for someone probably, right?
Yeah.
Feels like if they can take down anyone, it'll be Hanwha Life, but back-to-back must-win series for KT. If they do not win both, they don't get out of relegation. And if they win both, it might still not go their way.
And our first match tomorrow is going to be Afrika Freaks versus Gen G, and that's going to be a huge one for KT's fate. You mentioned if Gen G win, KT's just done. It's just most likely not going to happen.
Not mathematically, but given where they're at. I have to agree, Atlas, and you and I will be back tomorrow.
We will.
I understand Afrika versus Gen G, and then suddenly a match that is not necessarily a guarantee of 2nd place, but it's close to it. SKT, Sandbox, and Kingzone seem like the teams vying for skipping a best of 3 and a best of 5.
Well, one of these teams is going to be 2nd. The other one will be 4th as this game concludes. So an incredibly meaningful 2nd match of the night. You definitely don't want to miss that. But I know you guys have probably already got your SKT games penciled into your calendar, wanting to see the Dream Team in action. Them up against Sandbox is a huge matchup.
Well, and that's everything for tonight, Atlas. Interesting games. It was 2-0, 2-0. Some good moments for KT, but Kingzone too good.
Yep, Kingzone were too good. Griffin were definitely too good before that. That is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching what was day 1 of Week 9. Still so much LCK action for the rest of the week, so stay tuned. Tomorrow's action